We've got some comments from Atlassian. They believe, and they've spoken to lots of customers, internal, external, coaches, enthusiasts, practitioners, and they've read a lot on social media, and they believe the manifesto is still relevant, perhaps even more so than ever. Any thoughts from Atlassian? Or any thoughts from anyone on what Atlassian says about this? No? Okay. I personally don't disagree. I don't agree with that entirely. But at the same time, I don't disagree with it entirely. I do think there are a lot of things that are still entirely relevant, and I don't think the manifesto itself needs a wholesale change, but I do think there are tweaks, there are updates we could make to it that would make it more fit for our purposes in this day and age. There's a gent called Zach Bonica in 2015 wrote an article called Agile Cancer, Stop Whining and Cure It. And this was a similar point to back earlier I mentioned, where people are talking about the problem a lot rather than trying to resolve the issue. And that in itself is anti-agile. And then you have Sleek.io in January 2020, who mentions that they think pre-COVID that the manifesto is outgrown, in that the pragmatism of face-to-face communication, the complexities of modern customer collaboration, and going with the flow over the following a plan is outdated. Any thoughts on that one from anyone? I think we've already reflected on face-to-face communication and the flow over following a plan, but what about, is the modern customer collaboration and complexity involved, meaning the manifesto is no longer as relevant as it could be?
Mark, you're on mute.
I think a lot of people look to manifesto to tell them how to do things. And it's not supposed to tell you how to do things. It's supposed to tell you what your values are. So when you're making decisions about things, that's what the values tell us. If you have a choice between doing it by process or human interaction, we'd rather much prefer the human interaction. You know, if we have to measure software, or you know, what's the product here? In the case of the Agile Manifesto, it states at the top, it's a software product. So working software over lots of documentation. You know, how do we best solve this problem? You want to try to do it in software. So it's a way to think and make decisions. It's not a way to do. Same thing with the practices. Or the principles. It kind of guides your behavior. It doesn't tell you how to do it, but if you have to choose, if you're going to choose how you're going to do something, you want to do something that satisfies the customer. But people are looking for the manifesto to be a how-to type of guide, and it utterly fails on that. I'll agree with that. But as a way to say, here's how you think about things, and here's how you should behave, I think it's pretty good. There are little tweaks, like the word "our" that you had, you know, changing the customer to our customers, and I prefer changing needs over changing requirements. You know, so there's little things like that. But we try to make it a how-to, and it's not.
So what does this collection of snippets from what our peers are saying tell us? It tells us that, for me, I think that the manifesto is a product of its time. It's entirely relevant in many cases. As I said, the language could be changed, it could be better. But I think we as a community, and this is my proposal, my hypothesis, we as a community need to meaningfully perform the retrospective activity and sit down and identify, is it still relevant? Is it still reflective of our needs as a group of professionals today? Is there learnings from the last 20 years that we need to take on board and alter slightly so it can be improved? I've had this debate with lots and lots of people now, lots of practitioners, and actually there's still a lot of visceral responses to it. I've been challenged in many ways, and I welcome challenge. I love a good debate, but I've had people like almost viscerally saying, how dare you say that, you're wrong. And I'm like, well, are you really following the manifesto that you're espousing here if you're not willing to even do the experiment or consider it? That's one of the challenges, I think, here.